Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Magnetic Reversal News, bringing you a magnetic excursion update Wednesday, October 2nd, around 9 p.m. Mountain Time 2024. We've got CMEs on the way from the X7 solar flare. Just the other day, geomagnetic storm forecast looking quite spicy October 4th. Plus, we've got Hurricane Kirk now at Cat 3. Keep calm. It's boom time. Recovery efforts continue after Hurricane Helene kills at least 189. The climbing death toll, at least 189 people have died across 6 states, and officials fear the death toll could rise, and I would expect that to near 500 in the coming weeks. President Joe Biden approves further federal funding days later than it should have arrived. And I think that may affect, well, the upcoming election. A building carried by floodwaters in Asheville narrowly misses an apartment complex before on a telephone pole. What does that even mean? Well, I'll tell you what happened. An Asheville, North Carolina man captured the moment a local tea company's building was torn apart by floodwaters as it floated down the bloated Swannanoa River. And that is just one of dozens of accounts like that coming from across the region. About 1 million homes and businesses are still without power after Helene. And let's take a look at Power Outage US. Well, and they nailed the number. Here is the current numbers. Just over 1 million without power in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and Virginia. The hardest 3 hit states are currently still South Carolina with around 400,000 without power, North Carolina 300,000 without power, and Georgia the same amount without power. So 1 million people have been hovering in the dark for days. And let's take a look at the death count. The death toll now is at 189, I believe. That's going to place it right between the New England hurricane and Diane, placing it at 17th currently. But I believe that's going to rise up and probably make its way right here between 6 and 7. And that is an earthquake. That is a hurricane that happened in 1881, the Georgia, South Carolina earthquake, and the Audrey, Southwest Louisiana, North Texas earthquake of 1957. That hurricane killed 416, and the Georgia, South Carolina hurricane killed 700. Now, the Georgia, South Carolina was Cat 2, where Audrey was Cat 4. And, well, Helene was Cat 3 at landfall. Now, Asheville and Buncombe counties face weeks without water lines as the mains were washed away. The good news, several manufacturing companies are shipping in water main pipes for free as a token of their gratitude during this catastrophe. So hopefully they get in there and maybe some of these lines will open up earlier than thought. Now, Hurricane Kirk is strengthening into a Cat 3 storm in the Atlantic. Good news is it's not headed our way or towards Bermuda. It's going to make a hook here and make its way up towards Greenland and maybe Europe. But there is no threat to the U.S. As we take a look at Tropical Depression 13, looks like a similar path. We'll keep a close eye on this. This is going to be another major hurricane named after Kirk. And here's the full forecast. Critical fire weather conditions in the north central U.S. as excessive heat in the desert Southwest and coastal California lingers. A cold front pressing south across northern and central plains today will bring gusty winds, creating critical fire weather for parts of the region. Red flag warnings and fire weather watches have been issued. Dangerous heat continues in parts of the desert Southwest through Friday, with excessive heat warnings in effect for southwest Arizona into Nevada and a large portion of coastal California. Click on your county for more information. Quick look over at the GFS model for the most modern run here, the 18Z, and we will take a look at it. Well, the once feared tropical threat in the Gulf has been dismantled and is nothing more than a continuous rain threat for Florida, which is pretty typical for the region. The good news is that there is no tropical development in the near future and in the entire map view. But what we do see moving through is heavy snow in West Canada. Boom, right there as an atmospheric river comes in on the 4th and moves its way through central Canada and then eastern Canada, dumping the first significant snowfall from many regions. As we are in the winter pattern, and well, it's going to continue to get snowier. Let me take a look at the total snowfall, and you can see what I'm talking about there. There is the western and eastern Canada snow, some central Canada snow coming in, the 12th, 13th, and 14th there. And these models will change, but the snow is in the pattern as fall is deepening. And Al Gore is not happy. Shut up, Al! No bun cake for you! He's in the hole tonight, and no bun cake for Al Gore. Seismic update. A huge slurry of activity on the West Coast. Take a look at this activity in Central and Southern California. I'm sure rattling nerves. Nothing significant. This is normal activity worldwide as a coronal hole has just passed us, and we had some increased telemetry in space weather. We'll get to that in just a moment as we take a quick look at worldwide volcano news. A short list today on worldwide volcano news, but significant nonetheless. Sabancaya blasting a 22,000-foot puff earlier. Semeru puffing and passing. Nevado de Ruiz also on the list. Liwatobi puffing today. Fuego on the list. We've got new eruptive activity at Stromboli. Take a look. New lava flow lasted almost 24 hours. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Observatory recorded 5 mild phreatic bursts from Taal. And you can see what happened during the last blast. Almost the entire island was decimated. So this is a big one that can create some big booms. But what we're seeing here is just some reactivity with the groundwater. Good news there. Semeru, who knew? Now you do. 13,000-foot blast. We already talked about Stromboli and Sabancaya. Ducono on the list to 10,000. Nevado de Ruiz, Manam to 9,000. We've got Liwatobi to 10, Ibu to 8, and Fuego following up the list for a 15,000-foot blast just moments ago. Now, let's talk a little bit about Iceland. We've had multiple eruptions over the last several years, and scientists are saying the chance of a shield eruption is increasing. This would mean a volcano that would erupt for decades, if not hundreds of years, developing in this region. That would be bad news for Grindavik, as well as a local road that helps travel across the country. It could be the end of Grindavik. But the chances are quite low, according to lead geologists. And what is inevitable is more eruptions in this area. But as the eruptions continue, the chance for a shield volcano developing in this region is also increasing. And that means that this shield eruption would result in a shield mountain. And the eruption could last for quite a long time to form large shields, such as Shalabreja, which took 30 to 100 years to form. Most of the eruptions since last December have started between Mount Sundanuker and Mount Stura Skogfell. If the next eruption occurs there, the probability of a prolonged eruption increases, according to this guy. But it's not that likely. But it is likely based on historical data that we pulled up 2 years ago and we've shared with you. When the Reykjanes Ridge, the Reykjanes Peninsula erupts, there are other large eruptions that continue on Iceland in the historical record. And there is a potential for a shield volcano to develop on the peninsula that could be an eruption, a shield eruption that lasts for decades, if not hundreds of years. So that's the ongoing threat we have, and we're keeping a close eye on Iceland for you. The seismicity is increasing across the island, most notably up here in the Vatnajökull, where we have Bardabunga and Grímsvötn, and we do have some enhanced activity. No eruptions imminent anywhere, including down in Austria and Hekla, where activity continues to be quite spicy. Talking about spicy, how about space weather? Here is the 3-day geomagnetic forecast and the predicted KP index. October 4th could be fantastic. The night of the 3rd to the 4th, we could see geomagnetic storm up to G3, and again the night on the 4th to the 5th. How does it line up like that? Take a look at tomorrow's aurora forecast. We could see aurora entering the northern tier states and lighting up most of Canada. Good news. And all the reason is, well, all of this activity over the last several days. Current KP index is below 2 at about 1.4, but the minor G1 and strong G3 geomagnetic storms, which is in effect beginning late October 3rd and into the 4th, when the faint halo CME associated with the X 7.1 solar flare is predicted to pass Earth. Let's take a look at the X 7.1 occurring in real time. Fantastic. And here we can see it in 193 angstroms. And there we can see that partial halo CME. And what does that mean for you and I? Well, let's take a look at some of the models. LASCO C2 and C3 are our best chances to see this passing halo coronal mass ejection. We'll move it through to the event, and you're going to see right at the passage of time. That is the beginning of the event, blasting out there on the southwest picture. You can see a mild event happening in almost all directions, probably in 3/4 of the occulted view. Let's take a look at C3, shall we? C3 has better contrast on the event, and I will show you what I mean here. As we approach the event here, you could see more of a flux moving all around there. This is a very faint halo CME, which means there's not much plasma headed our way. If we take a quick look here over at ISWA, we can see a weak coronal mass ejection headed directly towards Earth with a glancing blow. Ho, ho, ho. Now, how good these models are is anyone's guess, but the arrival time, boom, right there on the 4th. Let me see where I'm getting that. Oh, this is actually showing arrival on the 5th. That is way off. It's actually going to arrive a day early here. Here we are at the WSA Enlil spiral, showing an early spike here overnight on the 3rd to the 4th, and then again continuing on the 5th to the 6th. So a multi-day event could be getting up to G3 geomagnetic storm, according to the official forecast, but we'll just wait and see what develops. Cross your fingers. We are in the crosshairs. In a new study, surprising amount and variety of gamma radiation is produced in large tropical thunderstorms, observations reveal. In 1990, NASA satellites built to spot high-energy particles coming from supernovas and other celestial-sized objects discovered a surprise high-energy gamma radiation burst coming from right here on Earth. Holy macaroni. While it did take long for researchers to figure out that these radioactive supercharged particles were coming from thunderstorms, how common the phenomenon happened remained a mystery. But satellites weren't built to find gamma radiation coming from thunderstorms. So it took a while. And a new study coming out is showing, well, where are we? Yeah, that is possible. There's way more going on in thunderstorms than we ever imagined, says Steve Coomer of the William H. Younger Distinguished Professor of Engineering at Duke, who was co-author on both papers. As it turns out, essentially all big thunderstorms generate gamma rays all day long in many different forms. All the links will be below. Now, according to astrophysicists, the largest asteroid in our solar system used to be an ocean planet. The funny thing is that all the comets they visit have no water, and now they visit an asteroid and it has water. The opposite is always the truth. All the links will be below. Now, for over 2 centuries, Ceres has captivated astronomers as the largest asteroid in our solar system. Discovered in 1801 by Giuseppe Piazzi, This dwarf planet, nestled in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, has long been a subject of intrigue and study. And recent research, however, is shedding new light on Ceres, challenging our previous understanding of its composition and history. And Lee and I will be discussing this on Saturday on the radio show. A strange discovery finds Earth's crust is dripping into the planet's belly. Well, if you believe this gobbledygook, you'll also believe that plate tectonics allowed us to have an ocean which spanned 2/3 of the globe. Complete gobbledygook, as well as these models with the primary and secondary drip. I think they might have post-nasal drip, and it may be affecting their cognitive ability. What's not affecting the cognitive ability of researchers like Lee and I is the discovery of a 32,000-year-old mummified woolly rhino, half eaten by predators, yet still perfectly preserved, with stuff in its stomach. Clearly, this creature was not flash frozen in any way. It died, it was eaten, and then it was buried. These processes take time. It doesn't have to be instantaneous flash freezing. It's already below zero in the Arctic when these animals succumbed to their injuries. Stop making up fairy tales and lies about tilting Earth and all this other gobbledygook. We have work to do, real science. So please, read the information, get the data, and come to new conclusions, because your fear porn is garbage. Ben Davidson. Startling findings. New research links coffee, fruit juice, and fizzy drinks to stroke. The only problem with the study is that it's 100% a problem. The study determined that if you drink tea in China, you will reduce the risk of stroke by up to 27%. But if you drink tea in South America, that actually increases your stroke risk. So what did they actually find in the study? They found that their study is garbage, in my humble opinion. Article. And here is another article about a spy plane uncovering radioactive gamma rays in tropical thunderstorms. We'll link it below, but we already talked about it. What we didn't talk about is the fact that the Democrats lie, including Tim Walz, in his debate last night. Now, despite what all the fact checkers and mainstream media says, they're all liars, if you didn't get the memo. And despite solar investment in the U.S. and India, and all of your tax money going to Israel and everywhere else, Ukraine much, a new report from Wood Mackenzie states that China still holds 80% of the marketplace on solar panels, and it will through the future all the way through 2030. Nothing that our government is telling us in the current administration is true. They are all fucking liars. Here is the data from solar power and wind, and they're not making it up. China has been involved in making all the solar panels. This is when Tim Walz was visiting them. This is this year. It's absolutely a disgrace. Green energy, solar panels are communist China support. Nothing more. Has nothing to do with saving the earth, because supporting China is not saving anyone. And that's a boom to knowledge. Please share this video, China, and become a Patreon. Support the work we do. We love you. Be safe. And that is a boom.